Howdy folks, Jambareeqi here. You know what? I love watching movies from my childhood. Why? Well, I find it kind of therapeutic and meditative to revisit a film that I grew up with. You see, our minds develop and mature as we reach adulthood, so our perception of movies can change over the years. This is Boo, Zino and the Snurks. I rented it from my local library when I was a child. I don't remember it that much. So the question is, did it deserve to be forgotten? Let's take a closer look. Boo, Zino and the Snurks is a German CGI animated feature film. It follows a thick-headed hero called Zino and a genius inventor called Boo, who live in the magical world of Gaya, where they compete in wild races against the sneaky gang known as the Snurks. However, in reality, Gaya is actually a television show created by a gentleman called Albert Drollinger. When an evil professor attempts to steal the Dalamite, the source of Gaya's power, the Snurks try to save it in a bid to snatch some glory, but end up being transported to Earth. It's up to Boo, Zino and a Gaian woman called Atlanta to travel to Earth and retrieve the Dalamite from the Snurks. When our heroes finally find the Snurks, they must team up together in order to discover the truth behind Gaya and defeat the professor. This movie is a very weak effort. It has rubbish characters, a boring story, and stupid dialogue. I can see why I forgot so much about this movie since I last saw it as a kid. The story itself is something that's been done to death. The idea of having outsider characters enter the world of modern Earth is a tired old cliche by now. It's been retread by studios again and again to this day. Now, because the film spends barely any time in Gaya, I ended up not giving a crap about what would happen to it after the Dalamite was stolen. The reason why? Well, I wasn't given enough time to emotionally connect to the world of Gaya. Why were the writers so afraid to spend more time in Gaya? Were they scared that the audiences would be bored by a world that they couldn't recognize? That's just silly. This is a fantasy movie. Audiences watch fantasy movies to explore new worlds and witness strange visuals on screen. Boo and Zino's adventures on Earth are made up of a series of constant conflicts. I mean constant. Sure, action scenes can be fun, but they're boring if we're not connected to the characters. The problem is that there's more action than character development. The film does sometimes have talking scenes, but they just consist of characters moaning and bickering. Ugh, the talking scenes in this movie gave me a headache. Even when characters aren't arguing, they're just spouting cheesy one-liners or cringe-worthy jokes instead. I got sick of the film's corny catchphrase, "To the rescue," very quickly.
To the rescue!
Whenever the film tries to be heartfelt, it fails miserably because the characters are so unlikable. I wasn't touched or moved by the emotional scenes because I couldn't stand these characters. They're so boring and annoying. I swear that all they know how to do is start arguments and be rude to each other. So yeah, the film has more conflicts than character drama, but even when it does attempt to focus on the characters, they come across as irritating little pricks. Zino, a race car driver and Gaian hero, is an obnoxious and dopey character. He's not that fun to spend a whole movie with. A film's hero should be likeable and relatable, but Zino is just a stupid jackass. Yes, I know that his arrogance and ignorance are intentional character traits, but that doesn't make him any less annoying. It's the way that his ego and stupidity is written. It comes across as aggravating rather than charming. Boo is your typical genius inventor trope. He spends a lot of the movie being a whiny, scaredy cat. Sure, he's the most sensible character, but he's also one of the most irritating characters in the cast. I know that the writers intended for him to be a coward, and he does develop courage in the finale, but I don't want to spend 90% of a movie with a wailing wimp who won't shut up. If Boo slowly developed a spine throughout the narrative, then maybe I would have gradually grown to like him. But nope, I had to put up with his shrill whining for a whole hour. Atlanta is pretty unlikable in my opinion. Yes, she can kick ass, but she's annoying and boring. Her on-screen presence is painfully embarrassing to watch. Atlanta may be a strong fighter, but she's not a strong personality because she lacks any character or humility. I couldn't tolerate her, and she has a very unconvincing romance with one of the Snurks. The film dips in and out of the romantic tension between Atlanta and the Snurk whenever it feels like it. The end result is a huge lack of chemistry and a relationship that's hard to believe in. The Snurks consist of Gaya, Bramf, and Zek. Let's talk about each one separately. Gaya, the leader, is a selfish loudmouth that's pretty annoying and very unthreatening as a villain. His brash and rude personality is supposed to be funny, but it's not. It just makes him a pain to watch on screen. However, I will admit that I admired how much he cares about his gang. You can tell that he has a strong admiration for Zek and Bramf. Bramf is your typical fat guy who likes food trope. I am getting so fed up of this cliché character, especially when nothing interesting is done with it. It's not funny, and I've seen this character being used in every single Saturday morning children's cartoon. If one more animation uses this character trope, then I might just end up eating my own face. Finally, there's Zek. All I can say about him is that he's just a nice guy. He's possibly the least interesting character in the whole film. I can imagine that some audience members found him to be dreamy because of his emo pretty boy looks, but I found him to be blander than drying white paint. Sure, in one scene we learn that he has an understanding of technology, but that aspect of his character is never brought up again afterwards. The main villain of the film, Professor N. Isley, is very forgettable. Sure, he has a creepy voice, but that's not enough to hold a villain up. An animated villain needs to be eccentric, threatening, engaging, and fun. The Professor just chews the scenery, snarls his dialogue, and does nothing interesting, scary, or funny. Sure, the film tries to tack on a backstory for him to help us sympathize with him, but his origins are really underexplored, so I didn't feel a thing for him. The creator of the Gaya television show, Albert Drollinger, would be a great character to work with, but the writers don't do enough with him. I mean, you have this dignified creative artist who's been committed to a show for over 200 or so episodes. Why not explore him? Why did he start this show? What makes him so passionate about the show? What inspires him? We never get the answers to these questions. Instead, we see him spend the whole movie in writer's block, so we never get to see his creative process or see what drives his imagination. The animation for Boo, Zino and the Snurks was produced by Ambient Entertainment. Sure, it's very well rendered, really well rendered even, but it doesn't try to do anything special or charismatic with its movement, the most important aspect of animation. The animation for a feature-length movie needs to be very unique in order to keep our attention for a long running time. It's very realistic animation, yes, the characters do move in a very believable way, but it's not got enough personality or distinct originality to blow my mind away or move my soul. It's just not inspiring. The voice acting is a mixed bag. Glenn Rage gives an effectively pompous voice to Zino, and Alan Marriott does a convincingly nerdy voice for Boo. However, the disappointment actually comes from the cast's more recognizable voice actors, Emily Watson and Patrick Stewart. Watson gives Atlanta a bland and wooden voice with no charm at all, while Stewart sleeps through all his dialogue like he doesn't give a damn about what he's reading. It really let me down hearing Patrick Stewart underact a performance. I mean, this is the guy that's played such roles as Dr. Xavier, Picard, and Avery Bullock. The guy is a badass! He could have been the saving grace for this whole movie! The original music score was composed by the late Michael Kamen, who's best known for scoring such films as Die Hard and The Iron Giant. It's a pretty decent music score, but it doesn't attempt to do anything interesting. I mean, it's not got any tracks that stand out or leave an impression. The disappointing thing is that Kamen was capable of being imaginative with his compositions. Check out the Iron Giant score to get a real taste of his talent. To conclude, this movie rides a lot on how much the audience cares about the characters and the world of Gaya.
because those are the things that are on the line. But personally, I didn't give a crap about either. Why? Well, because the world of Gaya is underexplored and the characters are annoying, really annoying. Despite having really well rendered CGI, I found Zino and the Snurks to be a lackluster movie, and have to give it 2 fuzzy stars out of 5.
Now, next week I won't be releasing a review because I'm off to Alcon, an anime convention in Leicester. If you're attending this con and you spot me wandering around the university, then feel free to come and say hello.